Hello, everyone. Welcome to Trading the Close. And my name is Drew Dosek, pro trader here at Verified Investing. What a curious day in the markets today. We saw the markets gap down lower, but then bounce up real quickly during the very beginning trading portions of the day, mainly off the back of fake news that was released about a potential 90-day pause in tariffs for all countries except China. Well, the White House came out and said, that's not true. Then the market sold off. But ultimately, though, strength prevailed in the Mag 7. And we're going to go over every one of those Mag 7 charts to show you where the next levels are. But into the price action we go. Let's take a look at the heat map. The heat map, as you see here on the left side of the screen, we basically have a flat day in the broader markets. S&P 500 flat, NASDAQ down 0.1%, Dow Jones down 0.6%. U.S. oil still taking a hit. That shows the economy is likely going to be in trouble in the near term. Gold is also retreating back, much to be expected after that blow off top. We'll see that chart later. And Bitcoin put in a daily low at 3 o'clock in the morning and lifted up all the rest of the cryptocurrencies quite nicely. But ultimately, we'll get into Bitcoin here in a minute too. All right, so into the spiders. We have the spiders displayed here. What we have happened recently has truly been phenomenal. I've never seen this before in my trading career where we've had 3 consecutive river theories where we have traded down through this parallel gap beneath it, then we gap beneath the next support, and then we gap beneath this support. And if I scroll back out on the chart, you can see where I'm getting these trend lines. Here was the 2021 high, and here was a 2022 low. We were gapping beneath all of these levels, and here's a pivot high from 24. But ultimately, notice the price action and behavior here into the 10-minute where I show you what I was talking about earlier. We started selling off first thing in the morning. Then news came about potential relief of tariffs. And then boom, the markets went higher. And one thing that I've derived from this is you got to consider the markets and people are watching price action go down and down and down. All the while, we've been programmed to buy the dip. And so there's a lot of buyers on the sideline just waiting to get back into the market. Any bit of good news is going to drive the price of the stock market higher. So that showed me, case in point, exactly what people are waiting to do, but ultimately didn't materialize for a very big move of the day. Now on to Bitcoin. Bitcoin overnight at 3 o'clock hit my target zone, the $72,000 to $74,000 price range. It got down to $74,420. So at the end of the trading day today, if we remain in a doji situation like this, we likely are going to go up in the near term. And what do you mean by that, Drew? Well, what I mean is this whole setup is part of what I teach in the sleeper hold, mastering the overnight trade. It's a time count move down into support. With this sort of formation, we likely should see a little bit more of buying pressure with Bitcoin. First resistance was already tagged right around 81,000. If we get very bullish in the markets and there's tariff news of easing, we should push up to 87. And ultimately, the grand goal and biggest move for Bitcoin could be up here to 94,000. I don't anticipate that happening. Should selling pressure resume on Bitcoin, this target down here I have is about $61,000 on the chart. And it's very real and could be a possibility of getting there. All right, on to gold. Gold has, as you've seen, we've had a blow off top over the last week here with price action. Any bit of good news on the economy has sent the price of gold coming down. But really, actually, this was all technical analysis. When we have a move of this magnitude of gold moving up higher, it needs to cool off. First area of support is going to be right here under $3,000, $2,955, followed by $2,869. On to silver. Silver is, as I mentioned the other week, a little bit more of an industrial component as this does follow. And there's a lot of technology pieces that have silver inside of them. So silver has fallen down and actually bounced up quite a lot today. And that's due to the economy potentially bottoming out. So I don't think the selling's over with by any stretch of the imagination. However, silver's getting a relief technical bounce, as you see here on the charts too. First resistance to get through is going to be this $30.41 area. But if selling resumes on silver, we could very potentially hit $25.17. Now on to oil. As I said, the oil looks, it kind of like the silver chart in that it tested the trend line that it just broke, but we didn't confirm price action underneath this trend line just yet. So this area is minor resistance on the charts. Should selling still continue on oil, there is a measured move down here to $53.15, which could actually happen. Natural gas is continuing its fall off after hitting this top end trend line and the 382 Fibonacci retrace. Support for natural gas is going to be here at $3.57, followed by this trend line at $3.43. Now into the Mag 7. Now this is really interesting, and we didn't have a positive day. However, we've had a change in character, the way this price action has behaved with all of these Mag 7 stocks. Now, if you notice here on Microsoft, we did gap lower, but we ran straight through a November 2021 high pivot, which you locate right here on the chart. You can see it right here. We didn't get quite down to this weekly 200 SMA, so that still will be support should price action come back down there. Now, in the very near term, should we have positive news come out about easing of tariffs, you can anticipate us going back, retesting this parallel, which already was tested. Parallels right at 366.86. Should we bust through that, 377.60 is the next target, followed by $400.48. Now into Google. Google, very much like the other Mag 7s, had a nice bounce up off of its lows. And this support trend line, if you see back on the chart, goes all the way back here until July of 2023. This is all technical analysis that guides us as to which direction these stocks are going to go. The main thing for Google, though, is to get through this declining trend line right here, which it looks like it closed right on today. First step, get above this area. And if we have any sort of relief and bounce, I think Google could go back up to 166.37. As a side note too, why I talk about these Mag 7s, why I'm bringing them up today is a lot of folks are invested in these Mag 7s, and they're very important to understand, and usually the first to catch a bounce once any sort of good news hits the markets. All right, into Meta. Meta, as you see, has had a nice cascading fall, breaking through these other trend lines of support. Now that we're beneath here and confirmed, these areas are now resistance going back up. So this is a $570 target here on Meta. If we get any more positive news, $590. Ultimately, if we get really good news, we could get all the way up to $663.01. However, that is doubtful. Into NVIDIA. NVIDIA has 3 different levels of resistance moving up into this parallel. Now, first step, much like the chart of Google and Microsoft, we need to get above this declining trend line. Have not yet accomplished that. Should that take place in the near future, immediate target on NVIDIA is going to be $108.62. The ultimate destination, should we get a great bounce, is going to be the bottom end of this parallel, roughly around $120 on the chart. But all the while moving up, we should still have some pullbacks or pauses unless we just get a complete relief of all these tariffs. Now into Amazon. Amazon too fell down quite nicely today, but then it bounced up, closing higher than where we closed on Friday. This is a very positive close on Amazon in the near term. First up, resistance at 185.41, followed by busting out of this potential parallel right at the $200 mark. It's such a psychological number. I would anticipate, should price action move higher, there will be a lot of sellers that are holding Amazon when they held it all the way down, wanting to get out of their pain right around the $200 area. Now into Tesla, this one's a little bit different because it involves some political ties. And so Tesla, this chart reminds me so much of the way Meta looked back in the metaverse land. And I'll just scroll back over to Meta just to show you what I'm talking about. Here you could see price. Nobody wanted Meta down here at the end of 22. Mark Zuckerberg was investing in the metaverse. He thought this was going to be the next great thing. Nobody was really believing that he was putting so much money into this development, and price action came all the way down here. Nobody wanted it. But look at the move that occurred afterward. Again, these are vehicles. You got to take emotion out of the trade and understand the potential of the move of some of these Mag 7 stocks. So into Tesla, we have support here at 213.65 and is trading above that now. But should selling pressure resume on Tesla, this area down beneath at 168.18 will be a fantastic accumulation area. Really, anything under $200 right in that zone would be ideal for buying Tesla and holding, because I think the potential for Tesla with their new robots coming out in the future are going to be game changing. So keep an eye out on buying levels here on Tesla in the near future. Up next is Apple. Apple, as you know, has been hit pretty hard with a threat of tariffs coming out of China. And as a lot of their components are made in China, assembled, here in the United States, but a lot of their phones, computers, etc., are made out of China. These tariffs are a serious threat for Apple. So back into the charts, Apple hasn't bounced as much as the other Mag 7 stocks have, and that's mainly due to the reason that I just explained. So if we were able to move up, the first resistance is $200 here on the chart. I do want to point that coming through this area, this measured move of 197.40, I highlighted that last Thursday, how Apple had more selling to go because of this measured move pattern off of the head and shoulders. We accomplished that feat. Now that feat's been accomplished, it's time for potentially a relief bounce. Watch this $200 area. If we get through that, the next stop is going to be $221.20. All right, so a lot of Mag 7 details that we just went over. Hope these levels help guide you in the future to make good trades. Mag 7 stocks, as I said, have a ton of investors in them. They don't want these stocks to go down so that all their clients and themselves can still retain profit. It's important to keep your eyes on these stocks moving forward. This wraps up Trading the Close. Thanks so much. My name is Drew Dosek. Look forward to bringing you some more data and technicals tomorrow. Until then, you all have a great day.